Hello, beautiful creatures on Instagram. I'm waiting for Facebook to boot up here. All right, there we go. Hello, everybody. I know it's really late to be going live for most of you, but this is when Spirit was like, hey, this is when you're going to talk about this thing. And I'm like, okay, well, sounds great. So here we are. There's lots to chat about, so I'm going to try and keep this as concise as I possibly can. Spirit guided me last month on the new moon to put in my blog article for the new moon that the following article, so this last full moon, was going to be my final article on the blog for a while. I didn't fully understand it because I was like, but I'm enjoying writing these and I really love doing the research for this, so why is this happening? And now as we approach this new moon, I'm understanding it's because I am needing to speak this to you guys this time. You're needing to experience this information verbally, auditorily, and also visually as I'm coming to you on video live, because I did check in to see if this needed to be a podcast episode and I heard no. So I am live, and if you're not able to join for this live event, that's totally cool. I hope to see you in the replay. So, and also with all of that said, if you decide that you enjoyed this format more so than the blogs, I would really appreciate knowing. So if you would let me know in the comments, or if you would share this video with your friends and family on social, on either Facebook or Instagram or both, at doorwaytoself, that would be friggin' awesome. So, let's see. We have a new moon solar eclipse coming up on April 30th. Also, I just want to speak here real quickly. I know normally I acknowledge you folks when you're coming on and I say hi, and I love doing that. For the purpose of this specific live, I am going to be completely channeling here. If you have questions, I will answer them at the end. So I will go back through and I will look at the comments and etc. But thank you for being here if you came on. All right, April 30th, we have our solar eclipse and new moon. This is our very first solar eclipse in a while, since November or December. I can't remember honestly at this point, but it's been a minute. It's our first solar eclipse and our first eclipse in general of 2022, and it is our first eclipse in the sign of Taurus. Or excuse me, it's the second. I don't know, you guys. My brain is flooding with messages around this whole event. So it's just wild. So I'm just going to go with where I'm guided here. Regardless of whether this is the first eclipse that we've experienced in Taurus, I'm now believing that it's not. It is the first eclipse that we're experiencing since the lunar node shift occurred. So for those of you who don't know what that means or what it is, the lunar nodes are what determine where eclipses are. So every 18 months or so, that node flips. So the nodes are going to be completely directly opposite each other. So right now the nodes have shifted from having been in Sagittarius and Gemini for the last 2 years-ish, roughly, right? They have shifted from that space to now being in Scorpio and Taurus. This is their first time there in just about a decade and a half, roughly. And they're going to be there for the next 18 months. What the lunar nodes kind of govern are our lessons of the moment. They're the cycle of lessons. It's what we're working through and working towards. Of course, what I'm speaking to sign-wise is for 12 sign astrology. I'm going to get to 13 sign astrology in a moment. there's a lot of really cool stuff happening with 13 sign astrology. Oh my gosh. Okay, so in the 12 sign system, we now have our lunar nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. Scorpio, I will speak to when we hit our eclipse in Scorpio, which is going to be coming up very shortly here. But as far as learning lessons in Taurus, this is shaking up our foundations, you guys. This is, oh my gosh. What are our foundations in our relationships? What are our foundations in our households? What are our foundations in our family? What are our foundations in our career? What are our foundations in ourselves? What are our foundations in our friend groups? What are our foundations in our living situations? The list goes on. So what are your foundations with all of those things? Where are you lacking foundation? It's also where are you getting too caught up in the physical or not allowing yourself to embody enough? Taurus is going to be this lunar node in Taurus is going to be really challenging us in terms of what is our diet, what is our sex life like, what is our drug and alcohol usage. Where are we leaning too much on any of these things or not allowing ourselves to experience these things, etc. So all of that stuff can be examined, and it's all coming up already. Yes, the new moon and solar eclipse are occurring on the 30th on Saturday for those of us in Eastern Standard Time. And many other time zones. But you likely have already been feeling the effects of this for the last week or so. Not to mention in tandem with everything else that's going on in our sky currently, which I'll get to in a moment. I'm gonna grab some water here. So, those are a lot of the things that are going to be coming up. And that's what we can expect, is that those things are going to be shaken, questioned. There's going to be maybe some upheaval, maybe some questioning around a lot of things. And especially, you know what, I am going to circle back to the rest of our sky, and then I'll come back to the 13 sign system and tell you all about like the wildness that's happening there. So especially with Venus movement right now, okay? So Venus, our planet of love, of relationships, of passion, of relationship with the self, of self-care, of beauty, of aesthetics, of symmetry, of passion, money, so many things that Venus rules, the divine feminine and divine feminine energies, sexuality, sensuality. Venus met with Neptune the other day. Neptune is the planet of illusions, of false lights, but also of finding the light. Venus. Neptune is the planet of dream times and dreamscapes, of the psychic world and psychic insights, also of the divine feminine and divine feminine energies. It's the planet of the quote, the void, right? So it's this kind of like liminal space. It's also the planet that rules over creativity and creation and really like bringing things through, really going into this space of the void to channel through art, music, language, etc. When Venus and Neptune met in the sky, that's what a conjunction is. It's when two planets or two sky objects meet in the sky in the same place or in a very, very close position. When those two met in the sign of Pisces in 13 sign system, and I'm gonna have to check and see. I think it was Aries in 12 sign system. I'm sorry, y'all. I like did my research right before this, and I normally don't need to keep notes, but everything's like escaping my brain right now, and I think part of that is due to eclipse season, and part of that is due to this Neptune conjunction. So that's also something for me to speak to as well, is that when we have a really hot Neptune aspect in the sky, it's going to be really wigging us out in terms of memory, in terms of brain spins, like where you can't really control where your brain is going, in terms of like the brain chatter and not being able to turn it off. But specifically like about self-talk and really talking yourself in circles and spinning into, I mean, it just like, so that's what happens when Neptune comes into play. So I just want to speak to that real quick too here. So Venus and Neptune meeting, what does this mean? It means that we were and still are, right? Because when these planets meet in the sky, it's a big deal, right? It sends out ripples. So we likely have been experiencing these effects of the Venus-Neptune conjunction for a couple weeks now, and we're still going to be continuing to experience them for a couple weeks moving forward. So I am seeing a comment here. I will address it when I am completely done with this transmission. Thank you so much for commenting and sharing. I appreciate it. So when Venus and Neptune meet in the sky, basically what's going on is you are being challenged to look at love in your life, and to look at passion in your life, and to look at purpose in your life, and abundance in your life, and all of these things in your life, and recognize where things might have been illusions. Where were they not true? Or where have you been putting on rose-colored glasses that needed to come off? Or where have maybe you been putting band-aids on things that just were not working anymore because it wasn't the full truth, or it was keeping you from your passions, or it was keeping you from your path, from like being in full alignment. And I hesitate to say being in full alignment, right? Because being out of alignment, quote unquote, and being off your path, quote unquote, is a part of your path. And it's part of how you get into full alignment, is like we have to get out of alignment to get back into alignment. But I digress. So things in that department have already likely come up. The blinders have come off. The rose-colored glasses have been strewn to the side. Maybe some hard conversations have been had. And again, we come back to this eclipse energy, which of course we were already feeling a few days ago when Neptune and Venus met in the sky. And coming back to this Taurian eclipse energy, where we are being challenged on our foundations. Where don't you have a foundation? Where are you not anchored into yourself, or anchored into your relationships, or where are your foundations shaky, or where are you building foundations where maybe you shouldn't, right? And so all of that stuff is going to be coming up. It started coming up probably last week or a couple weeks ago, and it's going to continue to come up moving forward. Now, here's the thing. Venus kissed Neptune and moved on real fast, and she is moving on tomorrow to meet in the sky with Jupiter. Okay? So literally like wham bam, thank you ma'am, right? Like for real, she met with one planet, was like, yeah, I'm gonna jam the earth with this, and then is moving on, and she's like, and we're gonna hit them over the head with this one. And then literally the next day is the eclipse. So we've got a lot of stuff coming at us. It's wild. It's really beautiful energy. I happened out of the corner of my eye. I know I said I wasn't going to be addressing comments, but this one is like asking me to address it right now. I happened out of the corner of my eye to just catch no. And so I want to respond to that by saying, I follow a lot of astrologers, and on YouTube, on podcasts, on whatever, and I kind of sometimes I'll listen to them, sometimes I won't. Actually, most of the time I won't. Most of the time I'll just channel my own information through whatever I'm receiving. But sometimes I do tune in, and last week I was actually doing some astrology study, not to do with the stars of the moment at all. And I was studying with an old video from a course with Kay Moon, who you guys can find on YouTube. She's so wonderful. She specializes in twin flame astrology and also collective astrology. So if you're like for awakening souls essentially on this planet. So if you see her channel and you're not a twin flame person and you get like turned off by it, don't allow that to deter you. Please, please, please. Like, her stuff for awakening souls and the collective is so spot on and amazing. But I bought a course of hers last week, and so I was listening to one of her modules, and she was saying, oftentimes we like to like prescribe this this kind of like negative aspect on like, oh gosh, like all of these things are happening in the sky, and so this must be this terrible thing because blah blah blah, or like, oh no, like this is a bad aspect. But she was like, there's no such thing as a bad aspect in astrology though. Like, everything is happening for a reason. Everything is happening to be able to provide us with the insight and the tools and the guidance and the shedding and the awakening and the new perspective and etc. that we're needing in order to step forward, in order to move more into alignment. That's why the planets are here. That's why they're doing what they're doing, right? And I, as she was saying, I'm just like clapping on the other side, because if y'all don't know how I work, that's 100% how I work. And I deeply, deeply believe in that. The planets are our guides, and the planets are medicinal, and they know exactly what they're doing when they meet up. They know exactly when they're going to meet up. It is precise. There is a reason why astrology is based on a mathematical science of astronomy, right? It is science. It is precise. There are numbers involved. There is astrophysics involved. These planets know what they are doing. Venus in and of itself literally walks in the same path every single day. Like, she knows where she's going. She actually forms the shape of a 5-petaled rose around the sun every 8 years. Same cycle. Every 8 years, 5 petals, right? And all of the planets have their patterns. This is why we can know what we know. It is incredibly rare for Venus to meet up with Neptune and then Jupiter like she's doing bang bang, because Neptune moves stupid slowly, you guys. I mean, we're talking like a decade plus for Neptune to move through a single sign, and Jupiter moves a sign once a year-ish. It's a little different this year, but once a year-ish. Jupiter will change signs. So it's very, very rare for Jupiter and Neptune to be this close together and Venus to wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, right? So what happened is Venus and Neptune, super feminine energies, and I know Neptune is a god technically and based on a lot of that mythology and etc., so on and so forth, but Neptune holds a lot of divine feminine and feminine energy. These two planets meeting up in the sky, really bringing this feminine through, especially like big feminine voice happening. And then she's going on to meet Jupiter, which is like the king of the planets. Okay, like Jupiter, like in so many ways is the divine masculine, right? Jupiter is the planet of abundance, of bigness, of masculine energy, of career advancement, of wealth, of Also passion of moving forward in alignment, right? All of these things. And so for Venus and Jupiter to meet in the sky, there's like this really luscious, beautiful energy that's integrated into the collective that is asking us to really step into our love, step into our passion, step into our open heart, our abundance, our wealth codes, our just everything, right? And all I get from this planetary aspect over and over and over and over again is just expansion. Like, this is just pure blissful expansion. And so what happened is when Venus and Neptune met, there was like this: toss the rose-colored glasses aside, see the illusions, cut through the false light, call it out, speak the truth. And then, like, feel this bliss energy come over us as we're walking into the truth, as we're walking into the light, as we're integrating these divine feminine codes of speaking our known truth. And then Venus was like, cool. Now we can meet with the divine masculine. Now we can step into abundance. And now we can expand. So it's like this Venus-Neptune energy was like highlighting all of the places where we had completely felt suffocated or felt just not expansive, right? Just closed in, closed off, walled off, not allowed. Where were you not allowing yourself to do things or writing the narrative that other people were not allowing you to do things? Because yes, that's something we do. Where was that occurring? And then you shed it. You shed the light on it so that you could shed it. And then we're walking into this, boom, expansion. We're integrating the divine masculine and the divine feminine within each of us as individuals, within our loved ones, within the collective. We're seeing both within ourselves and within everybody. And also I'm seeing this this like really beautiful merging of the energies too that's happening, where it's like such this seamless flow between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and both of those energies working so closely and prominently together that it's like you can't even, there's not even a need to decipher them, because the coding is so similar at this point with these two planets meeting that it's just integrating. It's so gorgeous. I am really, 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 really excited about it. I'm gonna give a quick check here. I do thankfully have a chart pulled up, so we're gonna see where this happened. Yeah, okay, cool. So I was right. It did occur in Pisces, and here's the thing: is it occurred in Pisces not only in 12 sign astrology, but it also occurred in Pisces and is occurring. I should also say is occurring, because the Jupiter Venus connection or conjunction happens tomorrow, or technically today on the East Coast and further east from here. Yeah, y'all, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because here's what's going on: is that we have what's called, and I've talked about this before, and I will probably talk about this many other times, is that we have a stellium in Pisces. I wrote about this in the last moon article, so you can find that on doorwaytoself.com/blog. And again, if you like that blog format more, let me know. Because that's going to help me discern if I'm going to continue doing these lives or continue to write on the blog. And I might honestly just flip-flop between the two depending on what I'm feeling and what spirit is nudging me to do. It's probably what's going to happen. But and regardless, so we have what's called a stellium, which is basically where where 3 or more sky objects are occupying either the same sign or the same house in the sky. In this case, we've got both. So both things happening. If you're not familiar with the houses, I'm not going to go into it. Well, actually, I am in this case. So, so at least in 12 sign astrology, we have Mars, which Venus met with in March. We have Mars, we have Neptune, we have Venus, and we have Jupiter. All of them are in Pisces in 12 sign astrology. In 13 sign, Mars is not quite there yet. But we still have a stellium there with Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. All of them are in the sign of Pisces, and all of them in 12 sign astrology are showing up in the 12th house. What is stellium energy? Stellium energy basically means that there is a whole bunch of that Pisces energy that's infiltrating us. And also, we are anchoring in the sign opposite it. Okay? So we are anchoring in not only this Piscean energy, but also this Virgo energy. Virgo is directly opposite Pisces. So that's going on, which means that basically there is an extra methodology to the creative channel that we're receiving. There's an extra methodology to the meeting up of these planets in Pisces, which again is it holds a lot of the same properties as Neptune does, right? This divine feminine energy, the void, the creative energy, the illusions versus truth, false light versus light, dream world, psychic world, etc. So here's what's really cool. Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, in both systems. Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, and so it represents a lot of death and rebirth. It also, however, represents this liminal space between death and rebirth, right? So there's this super powerful energy of like, oof, we are getting ready. We are getting ready to rebirth ourselves right now. And not only that, but Pisces rules the collective unconscious, my friends. And so what does that show? We are getting ready to rebirth ourselves as a collective. Whoa. What I just said was huge. We are getting ready to rebirth ourselves as a collective. Whoa, lots of energy moving. Woo! Woo! We are getting ready to rebirth ourselves as a collective. We are recognizing more and more and more and more and more what is false light and what is the true light. We are recognizing more and more and more and more where we need to start speaking out against the false light and where we need to start regaining our trust in ourselves and our trust in each other to either show up or grow up, or show up and grow up, or to stay behind and trust that we are going to be able to move forward. And that is the divine right. It is time to stop trying to hold on to people. This is a really huge message right now. If they are no longer in alignment with you, if they are no longer in alignment with you, then you are no longer in alignment with them. Stop trying to hold on to people who hold you back. It's not going to serve either of you. I normally don't state things like that, but I'm stating it. That said, time and space can also be one of the most incredible healers. And so I also want to urge you to allow for that too. And if the person is truly capable of change, they will change. But they won't be able to change if you're still holding on to that old version of them. No one can grow if you're holding on to an old version of them. So, here's what's real cool, you guys. We're going to move into this 13 sign astrology now. This is where it gets really spicy, really, really cool. So grateful for this. So grateful this is happening right now. Also, to all of you who have come on, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you being here. All right. In 13 sign astrology, sky has expanded. We are no longer relying on the way that our sky looked thousands of years ago, which is what we read in Western 12 sign astrology. Sky has expanded and now incorporates not only 13 signs, but 13 plus signs. The 13th sign, so to speak, is Ophiuchus. It falls in between Scorpio and Sagittarius, for those of you who are astrology nerds and familiar with that placement. The other two signs that are, I mean, there are more than two, but the other two prominent signs that are infiltrating our skies at this point in time as space is expanding are Cetus and Orion. Why I don't say that they're fully incorporated into the zodiacal wheel is because they are, so shoot, I wish I had like something to draw on here for you guys. I don't. So if you imagine the wheel of the zodiac, right? Shoot, this is really hard. Okay, imagine my finger is a part of the zodiac, and this other finger over here is a planet moving along the line of the zodiac. So maybe we touch Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc., right? And we're moving through the zodiac. If we envision that there is yet another line above that, right, of other constellations, most of them are like way out here, right? So we're on the zodiacal wheel and we're just touching one sign, and it's going all the way through, like smack in the middle of that sign, right? Like we're going through, I don't know, Virgo, we are smack dab in the middle of that entire constellation. What happened is that Cetus the Whale and Orion the Hunter have kind of like come in, and at the same time Aries and Taurus have come to sit right under them, and where the planets have begun to move is right in between them. So rather than the planets moving in the middle of Aries, they are moving on the outer edge of Aries and the underbelly of Cetus. So we find that this eclipse that's occurring on Saturday is occurring in 13 sign astrology in the true placement in the sky. This is where the sun and the moon will be meeting truthfully in the sky. If you were to look up there and see the stars, which is impossible because it's daytime, but y'all know, right? You would see this happening like smack dab in between Aries and Cetus. So firstly, we have this like liminal space energy that's happening, right? Because it's like not quite Aries and not quite Cetus, and it's also both, but not. It's also nothing. It's also like the moon and sun are meeting nowhere. Like there are no constellations there. But they're still like kind of touching the tips of these stars in the sky-ish. So it's a lot to hold. And what that energy in and of itself is birthing into the collective is this ability to sit in the in-between and be okay. And we've had to start learning that these last 2 years. But it's almost like now, as we're moving into this new, because this is a nodal shift, right? As the nodes have shifted to this Aries, Cetus / Libra, right? Because Libra is directly opposite them. As the moon and sun have, or the moon has shifted into this Aries, Cetus, Libra, lunar node, companionship shift, it is saying, okay, we have more lessons to learn here. We have more integration to do here as individuals, and therefore as a greater collective, in learning how to sit in the in-between, in the liminal spaces, in this unknown, in the middle space, in the void, and be okay with it. It's not easy stuff. These are hard lessons for most humans to learn. Most humans who do not feel safe when they do not know. Most humans who do not feel safe when they don't have a label or a box to fit in or a marker on their calendar or something, right? This is hard stuff to learn for most people. So that's one. That's one thing that's coming through. 2, Aries. Maybe I want to speak to Cetus first. Hold on, let me tune into this for a second. No, we're gonna go with Aries. So, yeah. So, I was speaking about Venus before, and I'm gonna go back there again just for a second. We talked about how Venus met with Neptune, shed the false light, grab onto the truth. Meeting with Jupiter tomorrow, boom, abundance expansion. And then we go into the eclipse, into the solar eclipse, which in 13 sign astrology is in Aries. We are moving from these Venusian conjunctions in Pisces, right? This void energy, the divine feminine, being in between birth and rebirth, death and birth, or death and rebirth, and being in this in-between space. And it's like, what are we going to birth? And so it's like, we came through this lesson of shedding the false light. We came through this lesson of opening up to the wealth of the love of our abundance and the abundance of our love. And now we're coming into the birth of ourselves as creators. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Aries is a fire sign. Aries brings a lot of newness, fresh ideas, fresh perspective, change, ideation of self-understanding, innovation, and lots of craftsmanship too. Like, gotta like work with your hands, get creative, make the things, right? And so there's just this really gorgeous funneling of energy that's happening right now, you guys. So, like, the pattern is so clear and so beautiful. So beautiful. So that's the deal with that Aryan energy, right? It's like, okay, we shed the false light, we're grabbed onto abundance, and now we're gonna make something with it. We are going to learn the lessons that we need to learn in order to birth this new project into existence, or birth this creation into reality, or birth ourselves into our bodies, into this earth, into this being, right? So, and then of course, like, if you look at the 12 sign system, we have that Taurus energy, which is, again, anchoring us in, anchoring us down. So anchoring us into the body, into the physical. So we still have that kind of like with that 13 sign Aries energy, there's like this, boom, I'm here. And with that Taurus energy, there's like that, I'm here. you know? So like both of them are kind of giving that same or similar message. It's very physical, it's very anchored. And like I was saying before, we are bringing collective change, right? This is a complete perspective shift for the entire collective that's happening in the collective unconscious. And then this eclipse hits, and it's almost like it's illuminated, right? Because it's like all of this stuff with Venus has been happening in the dark shadows, right? It's been happening in the subconscious, in the unconscious mind. When this eclipse occurs, we are eclipsing the brightness of our day. Everything then becomes dark. So it's like we are going through the darkness of this Piscean stellium energy and all of these Venusian conjunctions. We're going through the dark of this Pisces energy, this unconscious energy, and when that meets with the eclipse of our sun, we're able to carry that darkness through into the collective. And when I'm speaking to darkness, I'm speaking to the illumination of shadow. I'm speaking to that void energy. I'm speaking to that womb, that darkness of the womb energy where everything is created, right? So there's that. Just like sublime. And then we have Cetus. Then we have Cetus. I reference her all the time, y'all. Sam Lauer at @findme_in_the_stars, my favorite 13 sign astrologer and a very good friend of mine, is where I learned about Cetus from. And I actually learned about Cetus when I went and visited her last October for the first time. 6 months ago, we met for the very first time. Very close to eclipse season, actually, at that point, too. And she was explaining to me how interesting it is that Cetus is essentially preparing to replace Aries. So it's like as space is expanding, it's almost like Aries is going to actually slowly drop out of the zodiacal wheel. So where all of our planets travel. So there probably won't be any Aries that exist far in the future. Not anytime soon. Like we're talking hundreds of years from now. And Cetus the Whale is going to be the constellation that replaces Aries, right? So it'll be like, it'll go Cetus, it'll go like, you know, Aquarius, Pisces, Cetus instead of Aquarius, Pisces. Oops. Am I back? I'm back. We're good. So it'll be like Aquarius, Pisces, Cetus instead of Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. And what she was telling me about how freaking cool this is. I love this so much. And I'm going to paraphrase, very lightly paraphrase here, because this was 6 months ago. I don't remember all of what she said, but I remember the gist of it. And what she said was something to the effect of, Aries is the ram. Right? We see Aries running with the herd. Aries is a herd animal. And Aries is also associated with sheep. And so, like, Aries thinks that it's the leader, right? Aries thinks that it is leading the crowd, but really it is running right along with it. And it's also kind of hurting the sheep-ish, but kind of not. And so there's this kind of like weird power trip energy that comes with Aries. It's a little ego-based. I'm not saying this to bag on any Aries, by the way. There's some really incredible Arian energy, and Sam herself actually is a cuspy Aries, beautiful human soul. And this was her who was saying this. So we've got this Aries energy that's kind of more like running with the crowd, running with the herd, but also like ego tripping and trying to be ahead of the herd and lead the herd, and then having the herd kind of ram against that a little bit, right? Ram. So we've got all of that going on with Aries, and what's replacing Aries very, very slowly is Cetus the Whale. And Cetus is about basically like gathering the school of fish from behind, right? So the fish are leading. The whale is just like gently guiding from behind. And the fish don't fully realize that they're being guided or that they're being led, but it's happening. And the way that she was kind of explaining this, to the best of my memory, is that Cetus the Whale is representative of essentially like the collective being guided with complete trust, and the collective being guided by this larger presence that is felt but not necessarily seen. And so we're coming in, and because of that too, there's a lot of really subtle leadership energy that's happening, where new leaders are coming in and coming forth, who are bringing in these energies that are so self-sufficient, is not the right word. What am I looking for? That are so grounded and rooted in the self that they are, that they're then able to be kind of hands off and allow others to be in their sovereignty whilst still guiding, right? I had a client earlier today, we were in session, I had a client tell me that one of the reasons that she feels safest with me, working with me as a practitioner, is because she trusts that I have so much foundation in myself that I'm not, I don't have an agenda to try and shape her in any way, shape, or form, right? I'm allowing her to do work, and she can trust that I'm here grounded, holding the space for her as she does that work. And that makes her feel safe to go deep within herself. And it makes her feel safe to really dive into that deeper work. Which was, whoa, the ultimate reflection for me. And I was so touched. But that's the kind of leadership that I'm talking about, is all of us as leaders, as healers, because we are all leaders and healers in our own right? It's just about tapping into that. But all of us as leaders, as healers, can step into recognizing and acknowledging and praising the sovereignty of others as they are guided through. And so we have both that energy and this Aries energy that are meeting, essentially. And the sun and moon are eclipsing in between these two energies, you guys. So it is literally bringing through this change, this moment in history where we are being asked to sit in the in-between, between coming forth with ego and righteousness and coming forth with divine sovereignty and security in our own foundation, and security to be able to let go of control over others. That is what we are being asked to do with this eclipse, is to sit in between those two things, those two ideas, those two very different approaches to life, and shed one as we integrate the other, or integrate both in their own right. Yeah. And again, all of this happening through this massive collective change that's occurred in the collective subconscious, collective unconscious, in the 12th house in Pisces, with this stellium happening, with Venus meeting with Neptune and then Jupiter. So it's like, ooh, just like this incredible, beautiful, beautiful energy that's coming through. And it's happening at a very specific point in the year. It's happening April 30th, the very next day, at least Eastern time zone. The very next day, May 1st, is the exact halfway point between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. So this is a huge midpoint for our year, right? There is all of this incredible energy bursting forth, new life that's being created, new celebrations, newness, at least in the northern hemisphere, right? In the southern hemisphere, there's so much shedding that's happening. And so it's like, it's just so potent. I don't even have words for it. And there's that Neptunian energy that's coming in again. That's kind of making it hard for me to bring things through, as you can kind of hear from my throat chakra that's like going nuts right now. I know that's also because I'm bringing a lot of energy through. I'm going to go ahead and look at these comments at this point. Thank you guys for being here. Let's see. High maintenance hippie, thank you for being here. Dawn, thank you for being here. Good evening to you as well. All right. High maintenance hippie says, hi, my fiance is randomly venting to me. Talk about a full moon. We'll check back in. Watch your vid later. Much love and feeling these messages. Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I hope these help you later. And, yeah, you just weren't meant to receive these messages at this time. And I trust that you'll receive them later. Also, that's some things wanting to come through on that too. I've been talking a lot with clients lately about seeds and seeds being planted, and the idea that sometimes the universe will plant a seed, whether it's a seed of a thought or a seed of energy even, in order to kind of get things moving and get the roots to start to sprout from the bottom and etc. And then later on we'll get the information fully and consciously. So that might just be one of these moments where this energy was needing to anchor in that seed format, and you'll come back to it later. So it's already integrating in you at this moment, and you needed that extra time for the integration before receiving the full information consciously. Oh, Lorraine is here. Hi, Lorraine. Thanks for being here. Dawn says, right on. Me too. Thank you. Not at all. I don't know what your not at all comment was too, but I hope I answered that. You're an Aries sun. Yeah. So if you're an Aries sun in 12 sign astrology, you could still be an Aries sign in 13 sign astrology. It would be Aries Cetus. But it is more likely that you are probably a Pisces sun in 13 sign. If you want to know that information, I highly suggest booking a session with Sam at _, find me in the stars, or excuse me, at find me _ in the stars. I'll link her in the comments section here too, or in the description, I should say. Aerosmith is here. Anouk, thank you for being here. Dawn says self-aware. Absolutely. I appreciate you being a vessel for me tonight. Oh, thank you. I was feeling very ungrounded this week. You were such a light. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I hear you. I've been feeling a little ungrounded myself too at points in time. It's been some really whirlwindy energy. Very wild. Actually, like legitimately though too, because we've had, oh my gosh, that's the other thing. We have had wild solar flares that have been occurring. Like these insane, just like gusts of explosive wind from the sun that have just been like which of course are also going to be affecting memory, confusion, whirlwind thoughts, highly active minds, trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, feeling super fatigued, questioning yourself, feeling really unbalanced or off center, having a hard time getting grounded, yada. Also shout out to Cosmic Gateway. That's a G number 8 way. Alicia Brachet is incredible, and she tracks the solar activity. So if you guys want to keep up on solar flares and stuff like that, she's a great account to follow. I believe Alex.Miles, Myles, also tracks them as well. I sometimes see information from them too. So all right, my loves, we're about almost an hour in here now, which, hey, is probably less than the time it would have taken me to write and publish an article and do the artwork for it. So here we are. I'm starting to lose my voice here a little bit, so I'm going to take that as a cue. This is so interesting, all of this throat activity that's happening right now. I'm going to take that as a cue to go ahead and sign off and hop off. Also, this is your last opportunity, I believe, to sign up. My mentors, I've mentioned this in so many different places because it's just, I'm so excited for it. I'll be there too. My mentors, Dev and Nicole of Twin Flame Revolution, at Twin Flame Revolution, are doing a 3-day online retreat event called Rise Up this weekend. It'll be tomorrow night, Saturday, and Sunday, pretty much all day, both days. And I believe that tomorrow during the day, or maybe even it's today, is your last day to sign up. So if you want to sign up, the link on Instagram is in my bio, and on Facebook, I made a post about it, I believe, and the link is there. So y'all can find that. I really hope to see you guys there, especially with all of these energies that are occurring right now. It's so freaking amazing. Like, the timing of this, I can't even tell you. We're going to be doing movement stuff. We're going to be doing shadow work. We're going to be doing integration work, abundance work, self-exploration work, shedding work, receiving work. I mean, just like everything. So I'm just super, super, super psyched. Super psyched about it. So you can find tickets, like I said, link in my bio or post on Facebook, on the Doorway to Self Facebook page. Yeah, sending you guys so much love. If you are on my email list because of the retreat, I might be sending out my May email update a day later, just depending on kind of how I'm feeling on Sunday, and if, you know, after a full day of personal work, I feel like diving into creating an email, which I very well might. I also want to give the space that I might not. If you're not on my email list, you can sign up at doorwaytoself.com. Little box will pop up and you can add your email in. That's that. I love you guys so much. I am wishing you all the best through this insane and gorgeous energy that's happening right now. And I'm sending you... Ooh, one more very important thing I totally forgot to mention that I was going to mention. Goodness. Okay. Wow. This is really, really, really important too. Holy cow. Okay. I mentioned to you guys that this eclipse in 12 sign astrology is happening in the sign of Taurus. There is also an active stellium in Taurus right now as well. So we have the moon, the sun, and Uranus are all in Taurus. What's really, so we've got the Taurus Scorpio energy that's happening, and like even more so, right? Because that's where we have those nodes showing up in 12 sign astrology, is in Taurus and Scorpio. So we got double that, right? Because that Taurus stellium is going to call to Scorpio and call to that energy. So we've got a lot of death and rebirth stuff coming in here, a lot of truth speaking, a lot of demystifying of the occult, or bringing magic to the forefront as reality, and anchoring that into the collective. More divine feminine rising stuff. I mean, huge energy here. That's really big. And especially with Uranus being the planet of movement and of social change and innovation. So that's all happening too. And what I really wanted to highlight here is that it's happening in the second house. And the second house is all about reclaiming self-worth. or not knowing self-worth. So if you guys feel a ton of self-worth stuff coming up right now, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not worthy, I can't accept abundance, I'm not good enough, I'm too much, I'm too little, I'm too crazy, I'm too whatever, I'm too fill in the blank. If that stuff is coming up for you right now, that is why. There is a huge highlight on that right now with the sun, with the moon, with Uranus, which is bringing movement, etc. So, yeah, I really wanted to speak to that for you guys and with you guys as well. So, and in 13 sign astrology, I believe, I'd have to check on this, but I believe we have Mercury in Taurus as well. So we also have that, that energy going on there too. So I love how these two systems work together. Like I find that a lot of 13 sign people are super hardcore 13 sign and that's it. But really I think it is the both and that's, just so necessary. Cause they're both true. Excuse me, true in their own right. So the collective is bringing through the truth of the 12 sign system. So anywho, all right. That was what needed. I was like, something else is missing. Okay. So that was what needed to be spoken. And now I am going to go ahead and close out with y'all. Have yourselves a beautiful evening, a beautiful weekend. I do hope to see you at the Rise Up event this weekend. And if I don't, then I hope that I am able to, through being connected to you in this video, anchor in some of those codes for you guys and with you guys that I received from that event too. But seriously, I couldn't advise coming more. Love you. Take care of yourselves. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend.